As I'm sure we all know, Tesla has been instrumental in helping to drive the transition to electric vehicles globally, and therefore they, along with crashing solar and wind prices, deserve a lot of credit in moving us away from polluting fossil fuels. But is Tesla's drive towards AI, along with many other companies, actually helping to undo a lot of this work? Could be, so let's take a look. Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. I want to talk about peak oil demand, not peak oil production. This is actually a Wikipedia page about peak oil production. I just thought this graph was kind of cool. And of course, giving credit where credit is due, Tesla is a big part of moving us away from the need for barrels of oil every day. But at the same time, Tesla and xAI's machine learning focused data centers are drawing in massive amounts of power. So the question needs asking, are Elon Musk's companies actually undoing some of the good that they've done by getting us off oil, moving us away from that, by running these incredibly hungry AI data centers? So first, why start with peak oil, which was theorized in the 1950s to be the point in time where the maximum amount of oil could be produced? Well, it's an interesting historical factor because, of course, I grew up during the Arab oil embargo, and that peak oil demand would come any day now, and all of us would be, living in the Stone Ages by the time I was my age. So you can see here, it was supposed to happen somewhere around the year 2000. We would reach the maximum amount of oil available, and then it would go down forever after that. As you can see here, Hubbard predicted 12.5 billion barrels of oil per year in about the year 2000. As of 2022, of course, the world oil production was about 30 billion barrels of oil per year. So clearly we managed to keep going up and up and up. So this isn't about peak oil availability. It's not about being able to mine it out of the ground, because we've been very, very creative in coming up with ways of getting oil out of the ground, including offshore drilling and fracking and all sorts of other techniques that folks in the 1950s would have found hard to imagine. But what instead is happening is that the more people drive electric vehicles, the more people use solar and wind and battery power, in other words, renewable energy sources, to power their homes and their factories and things like that, oil demand is going to reduce. And according to this Guardian article, BP predicts that global oil demand will peak next year in 2025, bringing an end to rising emissions. Of course, they want to paint the rosy picture because they're not the bad guys anymore. They're not producing all of that carbon and stuff. So you can see they're kind of angling it a certain way. Anyway, I'll leave a link to this and everything else in the description so you can read this in more detail. But some of the highlights here: the energy company's influential outlook report has found that oil use will increase by about 2 million barrels a day to peak at about 102 million barrels in 2025 across both of its forecasts. And by the way, this article is from July of this year, so it's not that old. Anyway, the first forecast scenario shows the world's current energy transition trajectory, and the other shows the pathway to meeting global net zero targets by 2050. BP predicts in both scenarios, in other words, even if there's no net zero, derive or anything like that, that carbon emissions will reach a peak amid a rapid expansion of wind and solar power as technology costs continue to fall. And here's where things get interesting. However, the report sets out starkly different pathways for the future demand for gas, which has emerged in recent years as a key growth area for energy companies, including BP. Under the report's net zero scenario, gas would peak around the middle of this decade before halving by 2050. That is a pretty major prediction compared with 2022 levels. But the current trajectory suggests gas demand will continue to grow throughout the forecast, expanding by about a fifth by 2050. So it's just going to keep going up and up and up and up and never come down. And that brings us to AI's dirty secret, which is that they utilize a lot of power generators in order to generate power for their machine learning data centers. So yes, this Wired article is a year and a half old, but there are plenty of other articles that back this up. Anyway, it says the generative AI race has a dirty secret. Integrating large language models and other things like that into search engines could mean a 5-fold increase in computing power and huge carbon emissions. And again, I'll leave a link in the description for the whole article. I'm just going to call out this one paragraph, but the excitement over these new tools could be concealing a dirty secret. The race to build high-performance AI-powered search engines is likely to require a dramatic rise in computing power, and with it, a massive increase in the amount of energy that tech companies require and the amount of carbon they emit. And by the way, the amount of fresh water they use, because you have to run water through the cooling systems to cool these things, and that requires a huge amount of fresh water. So it's not just carbon emissions and energy to run these systems, but also to cool cool them and the fresh water that's required. So there is a lot of environmental downside to running these gigantic data centers. As you might know, I have always valued a healthy lifestyle, but with more years comes a greater need to be very intentional about feeling healthy and young. That's where AG1, today's sponsor, comes in. AG1 is foundational nutrition that helps me maintain that healthy lifestyle and to keep doing what I love to do, including keeping up with my athletic children. Between cutting out processed sugar and drinking AG1 daily, I can honestly say I feel years younger. I've lost weight, my joints don't ache, and I have so much more energy than I did before, which is great for daily activities and lets me enjoy time playing pickleball with my kids. AG1 is foundational nutrition that provides your body with what you might be missing. AG1 is a science-driven formulation of 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens. So AG1 gives you the foundational nutrition your body craves, and the prebiotics and probiotics help my digestive system stay regular no matter what I throw at it. I really enjoy savoring AG1 since it's sweet without any added sugar, and I can sip it while sitting here, while working out, or put it in a smoothie post-workout. Either way, it tastes great, is super easy to integrate into my daily habits, and I've really noticed how much AG1 has helped me reach my fitness goals. It's one daily routine I won't change. So be sure to go to drinkag1.com/drknowitall to get your free welcome kit that includes a canister, a shaker, a year's supply of vitamins D3 and K2, and 5 extra travel packs of AG1. AG1 and some daily exercise will be the best thing you can do to better your health. Thanks to AG1 for sponsoring today's video, and thank you for watching. Be sure to click on my link to get your free welcome kit, and now let's get back to it. And of course, this is not just Elon Musk's companies, it's not just xAI and Tesla. You've got OpenAI that has been trying to make deals with a whole bunch of different companies to have power plants dedicated directly to their data centers. You've got Microsoft trying to bring 3 Mile Island back on. Yes, that 3 Mile Island. Now, it's not the reactor that went offline in the 1970s, it's the other one, but that one has been out of commission since I think 2019, and they're trying to bring it back online and dedicate it to Microsoft's machine learning centers. So this is an industry-wide need for massive amounts of power. And in a decent CNBC video that I watched today, they've got this really nice graph here that shows global electricity demand from data centers for AI and crypto. It does lump these things together. So you can see here in 2024, we're probably looking at 600 or 650 terawatt hours of power. But by 2026, which is only 2 years away, we could be looking at 1,000 terawatt hours of power being needed just to run these centers. And that's no joke. As NBC says, that's about the amount of power that the country of Japan uses. So think about that. The equivalent of the entire country of Japan's energy output might have to be dedicated to AI centers and also to cryptocurrencies. That is a massive amount of power. Now, I don't want to talk about crypto today. In fact, I want to dedicate an entire episode or two to it in the future. But there is a big difference between data centers and between crypto mining. Crypto mining is interruptible. In other words, you can use it when there's extra power available and turn it off as soon as the power is not available. So that is very, very different than these AI data centers, which need to have the power all the time and thus need to have dedicated energy generation just for them. And so that brings us to Tesla and xAI's new data centers that are both coming online right now, one in Texas, one in Memphis, Tennessee. And you can see here in this Time article dated about a week ago, Elon Musk's new AI data center raises alarms over pollution. So again, just to call out a couple of paragraphs from this article, in July, Elon Musk made a bold prediction that as artificial intelligence startup xAI would release the most powerful AI in the world, a model called Grok 3 by this December, and that's only a couple of months away at this point, the bulk of that AI's training, Musk said, would happen at a massive new training center in Memphis, which he bragged had been built in 19 days. I don't believe that's correct. I think it was actually 90 days that he bragged about. 19 days would be kind of insane. 90 days is insane. But anyway, I think he said 90 days. Maybe he said 19. But anyway, it is fast no matter what that was. But getting to the point here, but many residents of Memphis were taken by surprise, including city council members who said they were given no input about the project or its potential impacts on the city. Data centers like this one use a vast amount of electricity and water, and in the months since, an outcry has grown among community members and environmental groups who warn of the plant's potential negative impact on air quality, water access, and grid stability, especially for nearby neighborhoods that have suffered from industrial pollution for decades. These activists also contend that the company is illegally operating gas turbines. So I believe XAI has necessitated 6 new gas turbines come online since they got this data center up and running, and there is a question of whether they had permission to do it or not. Anyway, I want to present both sides from this article. The negative side from Kashawn Pearson is they treat Southwest Memphis as just a corporate watering hole where they can get water at cheaper prices and a place to dump all their residue without any real oversight or governance. On the other hand, some local leaders and utility companies, conversely, contend that XAI will be a boon to local infrastructure, employment, and grid modernization. Given the massive scale of this project, XAI's foray into Memphis will serve as a litmus test of whether the AI-fueled data center boom might actually improve American infrastructure or harm the disadvantaged, just like so many power-hungry industries of past decades. And of course, even though Tesla is not called out here, they're building a data center of approximately the same size in Austin at their Gigafactory, and that is going to be drawing down a massive amount of power as well. So where does this all leave us? This leaves us in reality, I guess. Reality is never clean and neat. You've got Elon Musk and Tesla who've been working tirelessly for 2 decades to lead the way away from internal combustion engines and get us towards an electric future, an EV future. And of course, their battery systems don't just support driving, but also the power grid as well. They're great for renewable energies. If you have a solar farm or a wind farm or something like that, you attach Tesla's megapacks or alternatively somebody else's, but Tesla's are the best. You add those to your system and you're able to overcome the intermittency of wind and solar power. So on that front, there's no question that Elon Musk's company has been instrumental in getting us to move away from the need to burn coal, to burn natural gas, and to burn oil. But at the same time, you've got Tesla and XAI, and of course they are not alone. Like I said, you've got Microsoft, you've got Google, you've got Meta, you've got OpenAI, etc. There's so many companies that are building these giant AI data centers, but these companies collectively are suddenly putting a major strain on the US power grid in particular, but globally as well. And of course, they're not just burning a lot of energy, they're also burning a lot of fuel because solar power and wind power is not enough yet to be able to power these data centers, although hopefully at some point in the future they will be. And Tesla, of course, is making good progress on that front. They've covered the top of their Texas Gigafactory with solar panels. Those go a long way towards generating power, but it's still not enough to generate all the power that Tesla needs, especially for that data center. I don't know this for a fact, and I would love to be proven wrong, but I do not believe that those solar panels are enough to drive the factory and the data center together. And certainly that's not happening in Memphis with XAI's data center. That's definitely being run off gas. So you've got this complicated situation where Elon Musk and his companies are helping to move us away from this fossil fuel world and towards a better, cleaner future. But at the same time, Tesla, XAI, and many, many other companies are building these gigantic power-hungry data centers that are using a ton of energy that could be used elsewhere. They're also generating a ton of pollution, and they're drinking a ton of fresh water, which is also critically important for people and for farming and for other things like that. So where do I come down on all of this? I come down kind of in the middle. There's no question that Tesla has been instrumental in moving the world away from the use of gasoline and oil towards a better, cleaner future. At the same time, it's also undeniable that they and others are using an immense amount of power, and that amount of power is only going to grow, as that CNBC graph showed. But here's the twist to all of this. I agree with Tony Seba that we are going to be producing more and more and more power over the coming years, over the next decade. We're going to have so much solar power, so much wind power that we are going to have a super abundance of it, and we will be able to run these data centers off of clean energy rather than dirty energy as they must be run today. So I think that this is like a 5 to 10 year blip where we will see a lot of pollution from these data centers, but then after that period of time, once enough of the clean energy infrastructure is built out, that will start to dissipate and we will actually have a much cleaner future with electric vehicles, with a primarily renewable energy grid and a stronger one because of all these companies investing in it. And of course, with the probability of artificial general intelligence by then as well. So what we're going to see is a bubble of pollution that comes up from these entities, but that is going to go away over time. So that brings up the question of whether the ends justify the means. Is it okay for these companies to pollute in the short term in order to hopefully create a better future? Well, that's a question I can answer for myself, but I really can't answer it for you. Let me know in the comments what you think about all of this stuff. And while you're down there, if you don't mind liking and subscribing, it really helps out the channel. Thank you so much. It would be awesome to reach 100,000 subscribers. That would be amazing. And finally, a big thanks to AG1 for sponsoring today's video. Be sure to check out my link in the description to get your 5 free travel packs and your year's supply of vitamins D3 and K2, and I'll see you in the next video. video. Bye-bye.